listening to the Deep Purple Podcast, a fan podcast about one of the most legendary bands of all time, Deep Purple. We take a look at the music, history, and people behind the band Deep Purple and beyond. Welcome to the Deep Purple Podcast, the first and only podcast devoted to one of the greatest bands in rock history, Deep Purple. Today's episode is episode number 275, Deep Purple Equals One, Part 1. And coming to you from the suburbs of Chicago, where all children are accounted for, I'm your host, Nathan Beaudry.
And coming to you from the suburbs of Providence, I'm your co-host, John, the floating post office, Matola.
Okay, so I know we have actually talked about the floating post office, haven't we? Didn't
I mean, we had to have with knowing Gardeau, there's no way that we haven't mentioned that.
I think it was in one of our chats, but I can't remember where it was. It's got to be in a like someplace. Well, it doesn't have to be in the ocean, but it's got to be on like a port city somewhere. I don't know, Louisiana.
Oh, excuse me. No, this whole thing is boring.
He's falling asleep of his own post office talk.
No, it's in Michigan.
Oh, okay, that makes sense. Lake Michigan.
Yep. Yes, the world's only floating post office, the J.W. Westcott II.
I guess it kind of raises the question of why, like why do we have to have a floating post office?
That I don't know. But it's I guess it goes from the edge of Detroit and Canada.
All right. So
yeah,
on my boy's birthday, Gardeau sent out a thing about stamps and buying stamps because the price goes up next week.
Uh-huh.
And then he sent it out about the price going up, and my son like read over my shoulder like my texts and was like, why do you guys text about such boring stuff? And I was like, well, when you're our age, it's actually interesting when the price of stamps goes up. That's how, because you'll become boring. It's just what happens.
I could just picture it though, because didn't you send a screenshot of that, or you just said like this text right now that we're just receiving? My son was like, why do you guys text about boring stuff? And I just started laughing because from the perspective of like a kid, you just look at that and you're just like, ugh, couldn't be any less interesting.
Yeah, I think I might have his exact quote here, but no, I can't find it. But yeah, it was it's boring, but that's okay. It's their texts are incomprehensible. It's like skibbity gyat Rizzler, and you're like, okay, I don't know what you're talking about. Hopefully it's appropriate. Usually it's not.
No, he said, no, I got it here. My son was looking over my shoulder and said, why are your friends sending you some boring things?
That's fair enough. It's a fair question.
Sorry, it's not about Little Nas X.
Yeah, or there's another one that they have. There's another one that he like listens to that they have names that are so ridiculous. Oh, what was his? Oh, I wish I could remember some of the names of these rappers. Little Nas X is the least of them, but they're just absolutely ridiculous. All right. So anyway, folks, it is the day. Today, the album is out. I have not received my physical copy yet. But of course we have the digital download ready to go. So we're ready to get into Equals One. Very, very excited. If you want to support the Deep Purple Podcast, we are 100% listener supported at my last calculation, and you can do so a number of ways. One is by leaving us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts to help new people discover the show. You can buy some merch at our Etsy store. You can also support us on Patreon or on PayPal for as little as $1 a month. We'd really, really appreciate your support. We've got lots of great patrons that keep in contact with us. Becoming a patron gets you access to be a lurker on our live stream episodes. You can get access to our patrons-only Discord, where there's been tons of great discussion, which you can join our music league, where we submit songs to this thing and everyone votes on them. And that's gotten a lot a lot of reaction lately. It's been going really great. You can also have access to our rating spreadsheet. And what else? Am I forgetting anything? You can just have the comfort of knowing that if you're receiving value from our show, you're giving us some value back and helping us support the show, help it grow, help us create more episodes, all that sort of happy horse crap. So please consider becoming a patron on Patreon or PayPal. You can also support us on Ko-fi or $DPPOD on Cash App. So we've got a number of ways you can support. All that stuff is in the show notes at deeppurplepodcast.com. And if you're looking for shows about other bands, you can check out deepdivepodcastnetwork.com, which is currently having some sort of issue where it's sucking up an amazing amount of bandwidth. So I've been talking to our host company because somehow there's like an MP3 that got onto there that like has had like 10,000 downloads. So like, I don't know what's going on. So we're trying to figure that one out. I'll get back to you on that one. Okay, so speaking of patrons coming to us at the executive level, at the in memoriam tier, the wonderful late Jerry Kelly and family. At the $25 uncommon man tier, we have Ovis Nakvi and Purple Maniac. At the 15 squid tier, we have Alan. At the 10-pound good doctor tier, we have Dr. Mike Catan. And at the turn it up to $11 tier, Clay Wambacher, Frank Thielgard Mortensen, Mikkel Steen, Will Porter, PhDPP, Michael, don't call him Bradford Bagford. At the $10 someone came tier, we have Ryan M., Jeff Bryce, Victor Campos, Better Call Saul Evans. The most anticlimactic jingle. Peter from Illinois. And at the Hughesoween by 2033 tier, we have the wonderful Fielding Fowler. All right. Well, thank you to all of you for your generous support of the Deep Purple podcast. So, in our last episode, it must have been the last episode as you're listening to this. We watched Gillan live in Edinburgh, 1980. And during the episode, we commented on the fact that John McCoy had a shoe tied to his, I don't know, his what does he call it? Well, I'll get to that later. His belt? Like onesie, his overalls, whatever his onesie.
His onesie.
what he was wearing. And it was just like during the whole show, it's just, and then he even takes off his jacket and it's still just hanging there. Like, what's going on? So during the episode, I reached out to John McCoy to be like, hey, what was going on with that sneaker? And he wrote back and he said, good afternoon. Well, that's a long time and a lot of gigs ago, but I do remember coming off stage somewhere missing a shoe. When we went back for the encores, there was a girl in the crush at the front waving my shoe. She'd obviously untied it while I was standing at the front during the last song. I tied the other one on my flight suit for the next few shows in case she turned up with her weird souvenir. Bet it was smelly. Cheers for now, John. So I knew there had to be some reason he had a shoe hanging off of his jacket. I don't know if that story has ever been told before, but publicly. But that answers our questions. We had a lot of questions about the shoe. So, All right. So as this episode is, we're recording this episode on July 19th, the release date of the new album Equals One. We have some upcoming things. August 15th, Lady Starstruck will be at the Tampa, Florida show, a fellow listener. So if you want to meet up with her at the Hard Rock Hotel and Casino in Tampa, Florida, reach out to us, I guess. We'll try to get it back to her. August 22nd, meet up with Rich, John, and Scott at the Detroit, Michigan show, the Michigan Lottery Amphitheater at Freedom Hills. So if you're going to be at that show, check us out. And then the next night, we're speeding back to Chicago. We'll be at Tinley Park, the Credit Union One Amphitheater. So come check us out there. And then in September, Glenn Hughes is playing in Illinois, but it's a little bit of a trip. So I haven't decided yet if we're going to that or if I'm going to that. And then there's some potential meetups coming in the fall in the UK. So we'll keep you posted. And don't forget to get us your album rankings. Oh, that's another thing you get as a patron. You get to rank albums and be part of our rankings live shows. So we'll be ranking the third album. Get us your rankings in the next couple of weeks as soon as you can, if you want to be part of that show. Yeah, and that's kind of all the housekeeping, except so John and I are kind of on our summer break here. We take like 6 weeks off in the summer. We banked a bunch of episodes. Today we're recording 2 episodes, and so I got a stack of mail. So should we?
Oh boy,
should we get it? Well, I figure we'll get into some of it today, and then some of it next episode, which for us is also today. Yeah, just kind of get into some of this to knock it out. So that means it's time for one of our favorite segments, Postcards from the Edge of Connecticut. All right, so first off, I'm sitting on this one for feels like a couple of weeks now. This comes to us from Scott Haskin in lovely, sunny, oh boy, Cole Porter's coming in hot. I'm gonna have to turn him down a little bit. From wonderful, sunny Las Vegas, Nevada, where, what did you say it was the other day? Like 117?
Oy.
Ridiculous. So I'm gonna open this package up. It's been sitting here all this time. And it is. Okay, whoa. Is it what is this? Okay. Wait a second. Okay. This is Scott Haskett. Wait.
Will you just show us, goddammit?
I'm sorry. No, it's not from Scott. That's why I'm confused. It's got a sticker over it that says it's from Peter Gardeau.
Okay.
But the return address is Scott Haskin, so I don't know if he repurposed something Scott sent him. So
interesting.
The card says, Nate, missed you at the gathering of the Inquisition Knights Templar and Zodiac Killer community. It took me 3 times to get the right size of medieval hippie Halloween cosplay pirate Renaissance costume shirt. If it does not fit, lose some weight. Hope you enjoyed our time with the group. Chat. Peter. And then there's a signed coaster from the get-together with everyone that was there.
Yeah.
Put that in my coaster collection. And then we've got a medieval...
Oh, I think Pete was wearing that same shirt, I think.
Oh, it's the same one? Okay. I'm going to put it on right. Hopefully it is the summer, so hopefully this isn't too warm. So if it doesn't fit, to lose some weight, but there you go. This might be better suited for our next Blackmore's Night episode, but look at that.
I don't want to be a pirate.
It doesn't look as authentic with a Goo Goo Clusters t-shirt underneath it, but
yeah.
Yeah, look at that. Oh, this is nice.
It was funny because when Pete showed up wearing that, I was like, so what was that, like in your attic somewhere or something? He's like, no, I ordered it from Amazon. So he's like, love how he's committed to he's very committed to whatever we do when we go out.
Look at this thing. It's great. No, it's actually a perfect fit. It's pretty good. So that's more reason why I shouldn't lose any weight. This was sent a few weeks ago, so sorry for the delay. It was sent the morning after the show on June 30th. Signed by you, the Silver Fox, and a few other folks. So thank you, everybody. Steve is on there. Somebody wrote "fuck yeah" on it. I don't know what that means. Who wrote that?
I think that might have been Eddie.
Right.
At that point, I think he had a little too much of everything. So.
Oh, that was his signature. Yeah, I'm assuming this little scribble down here is Rich, is Mark Roback, and Peter. Look at that, very nice.
Yeah.
So this is going to be great for our Blackmore's Night episodes. So I'll just do a couple of postcards since this was such a this was more than I was banking on. So we got this absolutely enormous postcard. Look at the size of this thing.
Wow. Hey, you know what? I think I got one. I got one too. Wait a minute here. So we can.
Oh yeah. Oh, you've got a Gary Moore one, and I've got.
Yep. I got a Gary Moore from. Well, you. Who do you want to?
Well, you go first. You go first.
This is from June. Hey John, here's some Gary Moore for you. Don't fall asleep looking at it.
That's good.
Greetings from Dublin, Ireland, signed the O Roback.
That's great.
So that was great. So it's yeah, that's one of the biggest postcards I've received. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's absolutely enormous. It's really pushing the boundaries of what you can get away with a postcard stamp for. Mine says, it's from June 7th. God, that's how long I've been sitting on this one. Hey, Nate. Now, here's a guitarist for you. Visited the Irish Rock and Roll Museum in Dublin. They downplayed U2 and elevated Phil Lynott, Thin Lizzy as the band that really brought Ireland to the rock scene. Glad to hear it. Signed Mark Malarkey, and then in parentheses, grandma's maiden name, Roback. Is his grandma's maiden name really Malarkey?
I don't know. I don't think if he's mentioned it, I can't remember.
That seems like I mean, it would be a weird thing to make up. But yeah, I've got a few other postcards here, but maybe we'll save those since we're out of music. So
yeah. Well, I mean, I can. I got.
Do you have any other postcards?
I have two more. Well, I have one from you.
Oh, okay. We'll get that one out of the way.
I got one from you from Toronto. So that's you know what you wrote to me. So
yeah, but our listeners don't. And you think I actually remember?
Oh man, your handwriting is hideous.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
John spent all day with oh, Paul and his family. I should have known that. That's why you were up there with Paul and his family.
Yep.
Hanging out downtown. Much to see here in Toronto. May try to pop by Bob Ezrin's studio to see if he wants to come on the show. See you in a few days.
Yeah, that didn't happen.
All right,
I didn't pop by or ask him. So
no. Well.
All right, folks, we are here. We are finally here. I do not have the physical copy, but maybe by our second episode, I will have our physical copy. But Equals One, it came out today. Unbelievable. Who would have thought? Honestly, I wouldn't. Even after Infinite, I was like, well, they had Infinite. It was very kind of. This is what 2017 they released.
It was kind of finite.
Yeah, yeah. It was not Infinite. It was almost kind of like, okay, we're releasing this final album. We're given the infinite symbol. It's like, okay, so Deep Purple will just kind of sail on through infinity. They started the Long Goodbye tour. And God, that was 2017. And I figured, okay, that's probably it. They started a tour called the Long Goodbye Tour. Like, how many more albums could they have in them? Then they released another album. Then they released another album. And now they're releasing another album. It's unbelievable that during their time of doing this show, they've already released 3 studio albums.
Jesus.
After what seemed like it would probably be the last one. And they've even ditched, after like 7 years, they ditched the Long Goodbye tour. And now they're like, it's the One More Time tour.
Well, hey, I mean, they, you know what? They never, I love that about them is they had never claimed to be like, we're retiring.
Yeah.
I mean, they said it was the longer, I mean, they could still call it the Long Goodbye because from 2017 to now, that's pretty freaking long. But I think it was good marketing, good decision on their part to not do what so many other bands have done and been like, this is the farewell tour. It's just the Long Goodbye because they're like you said, who knows when they're ending.
Yeah, it's a very honest way of looking at it. And with, when was Ozzy's first like goodbye tour? Wasn't it like 93 or something?
1992 or some shit.
It was a long time ago.
You're like, I'm 40. I'm ancient. I can't do this anymore. Fuck out of here.
I mean, now it looks like he's circling the drain now, unfortunately, but,
that's the worst way of putting it.
Yeah, I guess that wasn't very sensitive. But I figure with Ozzy, he's been living on borrowed time for 50 years. So it's like, I mean, the guy should not be alive, but he's had such a great late career resurgence of popularity.
Neither should Keith Richards, but I mean, look at these guys.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. I mean,
but it's good that they didn't because so many bands like, oh, it's the last time. So they can charge outlandish ticket prices. Everyone's going to go see them. They'll pack stadiums and then they do it again and again and again. At least Deep Purple's not trying to say this is the last time. But as a fan in my head, I'm like, even when I saw them 5 years ago, I was like, this could be the last opportunity I have to see them.
Well, I think that's
how you have 8 more times.
Well, that's how you have to look at everything though, because that's what you're saying about Glenn Hughes way back when you had the chance to see him, but like before, I think before we started the show, or
Yes,
when
yeah.
we first started it, and luckily we've gotten to see him like a handful of times. We got to meet him.
Hmm.
You got to have a short chat with him. We've met most of Deep Purple a bunch of times, but I mean, I'm glad that we did that because, yeah, we're gonna see him a bunch of times within the next month, and that could be it, or it could not be it. But the whole point being is that you don't want to take it for granted, and I like
Yeah.
their honest strategy. I think is the way that you put it, which I think it was well put. Is that they're not claiming anything. They're just doing what they do.
Right. Because who knows what tomorrow will bring? I mean, they could, you know,
Right. I mean, we didn't
it's
know that Steve Morse wasn't going to be in the band anymore.
right.
Right.
And yeah, we
When he
got to see him on
left.
his second to last show he ever played.
Yeah.
We got to be there, which was cool. I was talking about this with Ovis the other day. It was just about they seem like they're just in such good shape mentally and physically and taking care of themselves, and but you just don't know at this age something could happen, that could get sick, and who knows, that stuff can really progress fast at this age. But they seem like they're all very on top of it, and I think the actual physical act of touring is keeping them healthy and fit and all that sort of stuff. So I don't think they'll ever stop until one of them drops, basically. It's
Oh yeah. I mean, even God. I mean, when we went and I mean, we basically met in some form or another. Uh, right. Roger, obviously, Don Airey, Ian Pace,
yep.
um,
Simon.
Simon for a little bit, who's around our age, so he's not as
A
up there.
little
But I mean,
younger, which I hate
well,
to think about.
but basically, right? Right, but we basically we didn't meet Gillan, right? Who,
Yeah.
uh, I mean, but I mean, just seeing those guys on stage and getting a chance to chat with them, however brief, and they don't look like they're getting a weekend at Bernie's up there. They're not getting propped up and
Yes. They don't bring Ian out in a dolly. I mean, yeah, there was that video from last week or something when Gillan like jumped off the stage and berated security. He climbs back on the stage. He's gonna be 79 in a few weeks. Like,
I mean, Pops maybe could do that, and we don't know.
I couldn't.
Yeah, but yeah,
Maybe without a
exactly.
boot. I mean, Gillen's considerably taller than me, I think, but
Yeah.
I don't think I could. I think I'd need a boost. Hey, I know I just berated you, security guy. Could you give me a boost back on stage?
But I mean, shit. Yeah. So I mean, yeah, we've well established these guys are in great shape to keep doing this, and as we will find out what kind of shape they are into writing new music.
Yep, absolutely. Um, so interesting note. We normally take this time to talk about what our history is with the album, but this album came out today. However, some of you may know, but I was lucky enough to get an advance copy of this. So, it kind of went a little weird. So here's the story. So on July 4th, I woke up and I looked at my email and I had an advanced copy of the album from Air Music. And I was like, oh my God, I got an advanced copy. This is crazy. Like, so it's through this system that blah, blah, blah. It's like it's very secure. So basically you're the only person that can open it, all this sort of stuff. So I logged on and I listened to it, and I worked that day and I came home and I listened to it, and oh yeah, I barbecued in the backyard and I had it on, and me and my wife was one of the first people on planet Earth to listen to this album. Completely wasted on her. I was like,
Of
how does it make you
course.
feel? She's like, oh, it feels great. I'm so excited.
Like, how does it make me feel?
So
Bored.
yeah, my neighbors could hear it in the background, but I don't think they knew or cared. So I listened to it a few times, and then my dog was like horrible all night. Like I just didn't sleep at all, and I just was basically put my earbuds in with the noise cancellation, and I was listening to the album and kind of drifting in and out of consciousness, listening to it on a constant loop. And like I was like, I was like, I'll wake up and I'd hear a little, and I'd go back to bed. So then the next day, I was like, okay, I got to send this to John, and then it just basically all night when I was logging into it, it said, oh, you've reached the maximum number of logins.
Jerk.
I know. It's like, it felt so bad because I was
You
like, oh,
greedy jerk.
I was like, oh shit. Um,
Because I'm like,
eh,
Nate, I can't hear it. You're like, why? And then you're like, oh.
you're
You
like, no,
found
I
out
can't
you
hear it
maxed
either.
it out.
Um, so yeah, and I tried to get one, and I didn't hear back from Ear Music. So then I was like, it was just this dream. It was like, did I really hear the Deep Purple album or did I not? Because I can't access it now. It's
Yeah.
odd to be able to hear an album and then have it like removed from you so that you can't listen to it anymore.
Mm.
So I felt very weird because like I can't access it. I would keep listening to it, but I can't. But was able to get a copy of it, a digital copy of it yesterday, which a very slightly advanced copy because it's just a day in advance. So you were
Still,
able to listen to that one
right.
a couple of times, and I listened to it uh, 4 times yesterday.
Yeah, I think you said 5 by the
Oh,
time you
maybe it was
texted me
5.
at night. And I did like 1 during the day. And I'm on vacation. So you're just like, oh yeah, all those things you had to do. And I'm like, I had stuff. I was doing things. But I was able to prior to the show listen to it again this morning. So
Awesome.
yeah. So I got
And
into it.
our late start, you could have listened to it one more time.
Yeah, why not?
Um, all right, so yeah, so that's kind of the background of our very brief history with the album.
Yeah.
So obviously I have a lot of thoughts, but I'm gonna just kind of let it come out while we listen to the actual songs, rather than just kind of uh, put out all of my thoughts right away. We usually do this, and I don't have any of the information yet, unless it's like late up on Discogs. So I don't know like all the specifics about the album, and I'm doing a quick Discog search to see if anyone in Australia maybe got up the. No, I don't see it still. So maybe by the next episode we can go over it because maybe I'll have the physical copy in my hands.
Hmm.
But we usually do this, and what we do is we talk about the album art, and it's kind of seems like a funny one to talk about because that has been out there for a while. But John, what do you think of the album cover for Equals One?
I mean, yeah, there's really there's not much to it. I feel like Deep Purple has been getting more and more into just very simplistic type of album art here. It reminds me of um what's the one with the question mark on it?
Oh, now what?
Yeah, now what? Just very you look at it and you think, now what?
Yes, it
But
doesn't.
yeah,
It doesn't evoke a lot of other.
yeah. But I mean, this has to be intentionally simple for a reason. It must there must be something about that's trying to evoke some kind of message that maybe we're not getting right away. Or maybe I don't know. But yeah, not much to say about it other than I could have doodled this on a sheet of paper just now.
Yes. Oh, I couldn't have because as you previously stated, my handwriting is awful.
Yes.
But it's funny because one thing we have talked about a bunch over the course of the show is the Deep Purple ever-changing logo, and this is yet another example where they've adopted this. It feels weird to call it a logo because it's just somebody must have written that, but they've started using this as their logo. Whatever the last album is, they kind of use that logo for a bit. So the only thing I think is kind of if you look at it like an emoticon or an emoji, if you turn your head, it is look like just kind of a face with like a very neutral expression, like the equals one is just like
See, I didn't get that.
it's that kind of emoji. Like it's the sort of emotionless, don't really know what to say about it emoji.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, it's trying to. This Zoom is looking weird. I don't know if you can even see us at this point, but yeah, it's obviously super simple. Evokes kind of almost the Beatles' White Album if it was down in the corner there instead of in the middle.
Sure.
Reminiscent of Now What, which will, I believe, be our next album we're reviewing by the band. Didn't think we'd sneak in a brand new studio album before that, but we have. So yeah, that's pretty much it. I don't know. I know they've sent out quite a bit of They have artwork for the singles, which have been much more elaborate. So you've got like the where is it? The pictures of you. So they have this kind of theme throughout the album that's this kind of planetary sort of theme. Let's see if I can pull this up. Freaking Zoom. They just have to get cute with everything. They just have to constantly change their whole program. So here's the pictures of you single. It's got this sort of radio wave motif heading out at you with the same Deep Purple logo and like these two planetary looking things.
Mm-hmm.
And then the portable door one is more of like a, I don't know, like a perforated colon.
Oh, but it reminds me of those things where you go into a um I don't know, like a museum, and you go into the planetarium and you go into those chairs that like lean back, and they show the whole earth and everything on the entire ceiling, like projected on the entire ceiling, and they have the narratives like millions of years ago, and they just so this is what that kind of
billions
imagery kind of evokes on a smaller scale.
It's the Carl Sagan
Yes.
motif. I love that the cosmos. That like I could watch that every day. To make an apple pie, you must first invent the universe. It's great. Okay, so that's kind of all we've got so far. And then, well, I guess this is the little merch package that should be arriving at my at my door, which is
At your portable door?
at my portable door, which is some CDs, some singles, a T-shirt, an album, maybe a poster, a lyrics book, which I'd really like to have the lyrics right now, but unfortunately I do not. And a little lanyard so I can take it to my Deep Purple convention. It looks like a pick and maybe a keychain. I don't know, but if it's here for the next episode, I'll unbox it and let you know what we got.
Great.
So that's that. I think we can get right into the music, but first we will thank our next level of patrons who help support our show. Oh, I will say about the title before we get into that. Ian Gillan, there's a Classic Rock UK article that Arthur Smith actually sent me yesterday. And he said, Ian Gillan says, I found myself online trying to fill in some blurry matrix of traffic lights or motorcycles, trying to prove to a robot that I'm a human. I thought, this has got to stop. We live in a society of compliance. You have to comply if you don't get anything done. If you want to get anything done, you have to jump through hoops. It drives me nuts. He says he looked down at his notebook and he started like drawing, and he said, I wrote this ridiculous equation with the answer equals 1. All that crap on the left-hand side, that's what you want to get rid of. That's the whole point. And Roger Glover says, equals 1 is such a strong symbol. I think of it now as being the history of the band. We've all been through multiplications, divisions, extractions, brackets, algebra, all that, and yet we're still one band. And I think that ties in with this, when they were doing their marketing blitz leading up to this album, they put up this formula. I don't know if this is the exact formula Gillan put up or if this is an artist's interpretation. Also, if there's any great mathematicians out there, you have to let us know if this actually does equal 1. In my head, I can't do it quite that fast. But this is the crazy equation. And I think what Gillan's interpretation of equal 1 is, why have all this garbage if it just equals 1? Which, fair enough, but I guess he's not a mathematician.
Yeah, just looking at that, looking at all those numbers, my brain just shuts off. I'm like, I don't even know what's going on here.
Yeah, I see there's square roots, there's sines, there's tangents, there's things of that I don't recognize.
Never been a math person, so.
No, I'm not a big fan. All right. So we'll get into our next round of patrons, and that is, of course, our core level patrons. Coming in at the $7.77 Keep It Warm Rat tier, we have Michael Vader. At the $6.99 new nice price tier, we have Spike the Rock Cat and Sugar Tea. At the episode $6.66 tier, we have Steve Coldwell, Arthur Smith.
Getting support from the patron, our
Anton Glaving and Charles Meadows. At the $6.65 Almost Evil tier, we have Kenny Wymore and Richie Sucksmith. At the $5.99, the nice price tier, Robert Smith and Carl Helberg. At the 60 kroner Scandinavian Nights tier, we have Knut Morten Johansson. At the $5 Moneylender tier, we have John Convery, German Heindel, Adrian Hernandez, Jesper Ullman, Alexei the Perfect Stranger Slepikoff, Kev Roberts, Percival Frequency, Scott Zerns, Cynthia Doobie, Raf Calf. Did I misplace my Raf? Oh.
My Czechoslovakian is not so good.
Sorry. We have Coyote Bongwater, John Maselli,
Thanks, Mo and Larry.
and Sarah Sanders.
No, Kelly Clarkson!
And of course, the wonderful patron Jelly Bean. Thank you so much to all of you for your generous support of the show. All right, so we have 13 tracks on this album. Figure we'll tackle the first 7 on today's episode because we do have, we will have a few reviews. Of course, if we waited probably a week, we'd have a ton more. But here we go. The opening track is called Show Me. Just gonna nudge that down a scooch.
Very good.
Have you lost your freaking mind? I like this descending like little riff where the bass note's descending. I also like the sinister. He kind of does it in...
Yeah, Gillan kind of gets back to a little bit of his that kind of thing that he does with his vocals, kind of the little laughs and little hats. Ha.
And it's like this ha 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 ha. It's kind of like the that Gorillaz song. And he laughs like in this weird rhythmic time with the song, which is cool.
Part makes me think of a Gillan Band song.
Yeah.
Very cool riff too.
This is a very... reminds me of like a Mark II bridge, like Strange Kind of Woman sort of thing.
I love that. It's great dueling solo, classic Deep Purple.
And then they start playing in tandem like that. It's awesome. A little reprise of the little riff from the beginning.
Yeah, I like that.
Ooh, you really hear heard the snarl of that bass at the very end. That brrr.
Yeah, go
Like,
Roger.
I didn't notice that in my previous listens. Probably, maybe it didn't carry so much through the little tiny earbuds. But all right, show me, John. Why don't you show me what you think of this song?
Well, I gotta say that I'm glad that I got to listen to this more than once, because obviously my opinion on the song has changed like a little bit, because now this is my third time hearing it. So that's good. I feel like on average with the new album, that's enough times for me to kind of get used to it a little bit.
Yeah, yeah.
Rather than being like, "Meh." But rather than being like,
See?
still gonna put you away, see? um um I'm gonna give it a 4. I still think that it's they could have like kicked the door down with something a little stronger,
Mhm.
maybe a little more up tempo, powerful, something with like a big riff. But it's not the worst way to start an album either. I mean, it builds up. It's got a great
Yeah.
build with the kind of like string plucking, and Gillan kind of getting back to some of his I don't know how to describe it. I don't want to say his noises, but it's
His noises.
but he's throwing some things into the lines like he would in the old days.
Yeah.
Like the laughing or going like before a
Yep.
line, just not like, it's kind of showing that he's getting into the vocals, not just wheeling himself in there and just being like reading off the lyric sheet with no emotion. He's really putting some personality into it, which I appreciate, especially as we're talking about at his age, and a lot of singers can't really do what he's doing. Regardless if it's a live or a studio setting, if it was tweaked or not, it's still Gillan. He still sounds amazing, which I don't know. At this point, I'm thinking like, okay, maybe he's not going to sound as good on this album, but he sounds the same. He always sounds the same to me.
Yeah.
And the solo section was like great. I love that they went with the dueling solos. That Don Airey didn't go with the um, the Hammond, just
Mhm.
kind of like I'm just going to pull out the expected
Yeah.
Hammond solo. He went with the what was it? Was that a Moog synth or
It sounded
sound
like
or?
some type of synth, probably a move, but who
Yeah,
knows?
like a kind of a synth sound, very reminiscent of a kind of a Stormbringer type of sound. Like, I like that they did something a little unexpected there, but still very, very Deep Purple sounding. Or the only thing that I guess I didn't love upon first hearing it is the thing that I've always kind of criticized Gillan for, is the singing along with the riff thing. The
Yeah.
riff is
Dun,
going
dun.
bum 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 bum, and he's going
Yeah.
nah 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 nah, and it's kind of like, all right. But I mean, I didn't mind it as much. I guess like the
No,
more that I
not a deal breaker
hear,
by any means.
no, but I guess the more that I've heard Gillan do it over the years, I guess there are some songs where I like that um, that kind of style that he's adapted better than others. And this one, it didn't. I noticed it, but it didn't bug me. It wasn't a deal breaker for the song. I didn't hate it. I didn't be like, this didn't sound good. So yeah, great opening track.
Yeah, I honestly didn't even really think about it until you brought it up. So that's probably a good, because it's one of those things that it's not always a bad thing. Sometimes it's just doesn't seem to work as well as others. I think it works really well here.
Yeah.
I will also give this one a 4. I really liked it. I think it's a really strong opener. You covered what I wanted to cover about the Hammond organ and going into more of a little bit unexpected but softer synth solo, which I loved. And I thought the trade-offs were great. I loved how they traded off, and then by the end they were playing the same thing together. I don't know if that was born out of what they've been doing live with Hush at the end, where they start each taking slightly smaller solo segments or slightly shorter solo segments until they're playing the same thing. But either way, however it was born, it sounds great. Joe mentioned this morning in the Discord that he loves it, but it's not maybe as in your face as, like, say, Perpendicular. The way it starts up with, like, the guitar is just unlike anything we've heard before in a Deep Purple song. Clear statement. We have a new guitar player and a new direction. You don't get that as much here, but it's present a little bit that this is going to be a little bit of a different direction, and I like it. I think it's a really solid opener. All right, the next track up is called A Bit on the Side. Nice pulsating bass in the background. Almost a Zero the Hero there.
Haha.
Which I hadn't picked up until right now. Right here.
You just arrived in the city, Charlene. Now you're working the underground scene. You've been getting bolder.
Like, it's a very, like, heavy chugging riff, but it doesn't go into metal territory.
Yeah.
Like, you can easily crank up the distortion and attack that riff and make it sound really heavy, but I like how they didn't.
Yeah. I don't want no left or right. I want up and down and a little bit of loving on the side.
None of my business, Charlene. Though I couldn't help but notice, my darling, makeup don't quite cover up the early evening shadow on your enigmatic jawline, Charlene. I have to say it's alright by me. I don't care which way you lean. I don't want no left or right. I want front and back and a little bit of loving on the side.
And another synth solo. Gillan's like, ah! It's like it's like he's falling down a pit.
Yeah, I love it. Again, they go with the synth solo.
Yeah, it almost reminds me of like an Ian Gillan band sort of thing. Some nice drum work here. It's kind of like a tease, like we're gonna give you a guitar solo, like just kidding. It's just a
Yeah. Just a little chuckles.
I would love to have the isolated vocals for this, just throwing all these little
Yeah, right?
stuff he's doing. I love what he's doing there, like those like short bursts on the whammy bar.
Yeah. He's got a great tone.
Yes, sounds amazing. that little delay in the guitar. You don't really notice it until the end, but all right. A little bit. Wait, a bit on the side, right?
A bit on the side.
A bit on the side. All right. A bit off the top.
Hey, just a little.
Just a little off the top. All right, Silver Fox. What do you say about a bit on the side?
Oh, take it easy. I'll give that one a 3.5. Thought that was I thought that was another good one. A little yeah, it was a little bit on the side. Yeah, things I liked about it. I think that again, well, first of all, the music and the production on both songs so far are really good.
Mhm.
And I like how there was that it was a heavy riff, but they knew not to overdo it.
Yeah.
So like,
And it wasn't as in your face. It was kind of in the back. It wasn't like it was chugging in the background. It was a cool riff, but it wasn't like in your face.
Right. It was kind of the way that it was played was kind of in the background a little bit. It was they laid off it a little bit. I do like that so far Don Airey has decided not to go with the obvious, and again did another synth solo, which was great. And and Simon's solo was great as well. I mean, so far what I like about him is that he's thrown in these little techniques that are kind of guitar hero-ish, but not too much. Like you can tell that he's a really good player, but he's not throwing too much flash in there. Just little bits and pieces of like, oh, I could hear, like I've heard Steve Vai or Joe Satriani do that kind of thing, even Steve Morse, but it's not like he's just laying on the whammy bar and just going like, yeah, like in a metal song. He's just kind of like approaching it a little bit and then just letting his tone and his playing do the talking, which I think is good, because you don't want too much. You don't want too much of anything overshadowing anything else in a Deep Purple song, especially these days.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, good energy in this one, and I like how Gillan throws in his typical lyrics. He at the beginning, I think he said something about a girl named Charlene. He just one of his storytelling lyrics, which classic Gillan. But the first two songs, they kind of have hints of a little bit of Ian Gillan band, like Clear Air Turbulence in there, like maybe because of the synth solo. But that's just me.
I agree. I will give it a 3.5 as well. I don't know. You pretty much said everything. I like the song. I feel like he says Charlene too much.
I think I only heard him say it twice.
It's 4 times, but
okay.
Looking at the lyrics, but even that's not that much. It just sounds like every line ends with Charlene, but I think it's just because every line's rhyming with Charlene. But that's just like a dumb nitpick by me. But yeah, it's I don't know what reading through the lyrics here. I found some of these are up on lyric sites, so if these are correct, it sounds like it's kind of like one of those, big girl, not big girl, but like girl meets city sort of situations. Like, I'm in the big city now, I'm gonna make it big. Which is
the big girl meets the big city.
Big girl meets the little city. Charlene, she's over 50 feet tall. But yeah, it's I think it's a really good track. Brings us to our next track, which is called Sharpshooter.
Yeah.
That's a great heavy riff.
Yeah.
And from there you can miss the trouble is I have to put you in line. Take a shot in the dark, oh yeah.
It's interesting that it like the verse is so like light and it's this little
I like that. I like that.
I can't think of another situation where Deep Purple did anything like that with background vocals. It's like an ooh la la, like, you know, it's one of those like background vocal tropes you never hear from Deep Purple.
I think he did it more solo.
Yeah, maybe.
Again.
Yep.
Loving
3
it.
in a row. Man, just so much feeling in his playing.
Yeah, he's just got this really great mid-range, dry, biting kind of tone. I that's the best way I can describe it. It's just a really great rock tone. No frills.
Yeah. Are there background vocals there?
A little bit. See, and there was an organ in there which Airey was doubling the riff with in the verse, but he didn't use it for the solo.
Yeah, it seems like he's putting organs in the bulk of the songs, but he's preferring to solo on synths so far.
Yeah, which I mean, I don't know. I think either one could have worked, but I'm kind of glad he's going with the synth rather than the organ or the Hammond.
I'm a big fan of synths, as listeners no doubt, undoubtedly know. So I'm not opposed to it, but Deep Purple purists maybe might be missing the organ a little bit, but I think because it's so prevalent in the rest of the song, it still sounds great.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, interesting song. I like the line, "I'm an old bushwhacker yodeling up the canyon." Which of course just conjures images of the wrestlers, the bushwhackers. Just probably not what he
was doing. Remember they did this?
Yeah.
They did that thing with they walked like a couple of ding dongs.
They're goons. All right. Shot in the sharpshooter. Sorry. I don't know. Even as I've expressed before, like, I don't think I know the name of any, having listened to the albums 1,000 times, I don't think I know the name of 80% of Black Sabbath songs. And this one's no different. What would you give this one?
I'm going to give this one a 4.5. I really like this one. I like the kind of staccato start stop nature to the riff. I think the whole band sounds great, but again, particularly Gillan, the background vocals, I feel like when I hear them, they sound, and it's not in a not a criticism of it, but it doesn't sound like, and I could be wrong, that he did them. Like he either did them with like it sounds like female vocalists, or he sang in a higher register and they processed him through, um, like they sampled his voice in a keyboard and they did the ah oop,
Yeah.
because it sounds very smooth. It almost sounds too perfect,
It
which
is
doesn't,
very, very smooth. Yeah.
yeah, like very spot on, which like it doesn't take away from the song. I think it's really enjoyable. I like that they added them in there. There's like a lot of layers in this song, which is
Mhm.
why I like it. Because you hear that, you hear the organ doubling the riff. You get like another great couple of guitar solos. I'm sorry, a couple of solos, guitar and synth. And it's just like it's a cool song to listen to. It's kind of like it's heavy, but it's also upbeat at the same time. It just, I don't know, it fits in really well. Like this solo in particular just makes me feel like Simon is a really great fit for the band, because he has that balance between being a very Ritchie and Gary Moore type player, but also very modern, like Satriani or Steve Morse, who were, all somehow connected to the band. So I feel like he's a good kind of mix of all those.
Yeah. Yeah, you read my mind once again. 4.5 for me. I love this one. The more I hear that, the more I hear that riff, it's
Mm,
just it's so cool because you get this, what I would say is probably one of the heavier riffs or things Deep Purple's ever done. Then it goes into this, ow, this almost doo-wop song. It's like,
yeah,
it's such a cool juxtaposition that absolutely should not work, but yet it does. It goes
yeah,
into this, I feel like the verse part of the song is like something a trope we've heard them go through a number of times on a number of different songs. They
mhm,
usually go for something with that kind of feeling, but I can't think of another situation where it's paired with something quite so heavy and different, and yet works so well. Love
mhm.
the guitar solo. I love how he's doing these like staccato, like really on the low part of the neck, and then he's going up high and doing these legato, like doing all this stuff. He's throwing so much variety into his solos, and a lot of the things people mention when he started playing with them live is just he's somebody who can do the Ritchie stuff, he can do the Morse stuff, and he can be his own player,
Right.
and
Yeah.
that's not easy to do because it's two very different players.
And I think that um now that I'm hearing the riff a little bit more, it's maybe has a little bit of a Into the Fire type of vibe to it.
Yeah.
The
Yep.
da 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 da, and the da 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 from
Yeah.
the
Oh, yep, yep,
beginnings.
yep,
Yeah, because
yep.
there are a couple of things on here that we can identify as being very um reminiscent of early Deep Purple, because I don't want to say that they've ever say that they've ripped off their own. Well, they've over the years they've ripped off a lot of stuff, including themselves, I guess, um, that we've talked about. But I don't want to necessarily say they're ripping off or repeating their previous work. But I would say they're it's reminiscent of, because I think they change it enough where you feel like, oh yeah, this is very recognizable. This is good. This is
Mhm.
very Deep Purple sounding, and there's a reason for it, because it could be just kind of a reworking or a kind of influence from something that they've done previously, just like the verse. I mean, we know that um, like that doo-wop type of stuff was stuff that these guys were all into, like
Oh,
way
sure.
back when. That was part of their roots. So it's not really a surprise to anybody that knows the band, that they might have thrown in something like that.
Yeah, I think probably the best compliment you could give a band of this nature is that it's reminiscent enough of their classic stuff, but yet has a new, fresh sound to it. And that's kind of what a lot of fans, there's all those people that just basically want them to release Machine Head 15 more times. And,
Right.
there's been some, but I've heard just so much positive about Simon joining the band. I don't see a lot of people slagging him off. And I think it's because he's somebody that's got all of the skills to be a shredder, but I wouldn't call him a shredder.
Right.
He can shred, no question about it. But to me, shredder has become almost like a derogatory term, and you could pull up 1,000, you could queue up 1,000 YouTube videos of people doing stuff that would just make your jaw hit the floor. But strangely, after a minute and a half of it, your jaw is not hitting the floor. You're hitting the hay because it's so freaking boring.
Hitting the hay. I love that. Yeah.
It's so boring to just see that stuff over and over again. But when he throws in a little flurry of it and then goes back to playing his bends are incredible. He's like I said, he does that staccato stuff that Steve Morse does, but maybe not as much as Steve does. And I can't say enough great about him as a player. I'm just really loving him. The only real exposure I had to him before was playing in Airey's live band, but I don't think I ever got a good enough sense of him from the few shows, like live shows I'd seen with him. Cause I'm like, oh yeah, this is a garden variety, amazing studio tour musician that you hire to play things the way they should be played. Great. But he is just so much more beyond that. And having listened to his solo work and listening to this and seeing him live, can't say enough good about the guy. He's great. About the kid, the youngster.
Oh boy.
All right. That brings us to the next track, which everyone should be familiar with at this point. The first single they released, Portable Door.
This one you hear really Roger.
Yeah.
For the first time chugging away.
I'm hearing it so much better in these headphones, probably because there's much nicer headphones. I wonder does Jerksville border on Weirdistan? That got what it deserved.
This part right here is very reminiscent of Pictures of Home.
Yes. Yeah.
Which I'm sure we've discussed or someone has pointed out.
Yeah, I think we talked about it when we did our little bonus episode on the release.
The winner takes all and runs off with the ball, and nothing could pleasure me more. Times wide, I've spoken my piece, for a minute or two held the floor. But I can't get a word in, so here I am hurtling right up through my...
You can hear him doubling himself on the chorus, but it's subtle. This is very reminiscent of the Morse era, the way they go into these solos.
Yeah.
Man,
really melodic.
So much just passion in what he's playing. And our first proper Hammond solo of the album. Doing that like tribute to Lord there, chromatic run up the keys.
Yep.
I love the public house beckons. That's a great line. Very British.
Unlikely event came upon me. I wasn't prepared for the shock. Once round my neck, and twice round the deck, and the rest disappeared up the block. So here we are, and everything's changed faster than ever before. You gotta be joking, man. What are you smoking? Blow it out through my portable door.
blow it out through my portable. This is like blow it out your ditty hole, or ditty bag, or
Your ditty hole.
ditty hole. I love this little build at the end. So it's interesting because this song's been out for I don't even know how long now, at least a
Little while.
month or so, probably maybe even longer. But they've released, as they've released each song on Spotify, they've kind of built them together into this, you know, for lack of a better word, single.
Yeah.
And it started with Lazy Sod and then gone to Pictures of You and then go to Portable Door. So they released them all in opposite order.
Mm-hmm.
But if you listen to them one after the other, and then it goes into 2 live tracks. So it's 5 tracks on this kind of extended single here. They flow into each other so well. So if you're used to listening to those on Spotify, now that you've got the real album, the order is completely different.
Mm-hmm.
And as we get into the way that Pictures of You goes into Portable Door in particular is so, it's like, oh, and I think we talked about it when we listened to it. It's like, oh yeah, that's got to be the way it is on the album because it goes right in, but it goes into a different song. It's like they completely switched it up. It's so cool that you can have something like this that works so well together, but then on the album it does a totally different thing that also works.
Yeah.
Which it's a interesting, that had to have been done on purpose, but very interesting how they made that work so well. All right, John, Portable Door, what do you think?
Yeah, so like we were talking about, this and the other 2 songs have been out for a little while, and especially on my long journey to and from New Hampshire recently. Those 3 have come on in succession. I've taken the opportunity to listen to those quite a bit.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm more familiar. So this one I'll give this one a 3.5. I like it. I think, that being said, I think this was the first song that we had heard from the new album. And I don't think that the benefit of having it out for that much longer kind of, I feel like it could either desensitize you, make you bored with it, or make you love it even more. And I think I'm somewhere like in between. Like, I'm definitely not bored with it, but I mean, I'm used to it by now. I've had enough time to sit with it. And based on what I've heard from the other songs, it's definitely not like it's not the best or the worst. It's definitely in the middle somewhere. I do like how it was like when I first heard it, I knew that there was something familiar in there, like the Pictures of Home, not riff, but melody, I guess you could say. Made it familiar, made it really like, all right, this is good. So yeah, I think that it's a good solid album track. Another great pair of solos in it. Gillan sounds great. I love that Roger is represented in there really well. You can hear him chugging along. And we haven't talked about Paice yet. He hasn't really, I mean, being a drummer is probably one of the most physical jobs in a band. So especially at his age, he's holding it down. He's not doing anything that's too crazy, that's too out there. But and again, I don't pay attention to drums too much. So somebody that really pays attention and is a drummer, say like Scott, might pick out some things that I might not be able to in these songs. Like, oh, here when he does this little or something would be
excellent paradiddle right there.
It's so awesome, right? I listen to the guitar stuff more, right? So but I mean, I think that everybody is sounding great on this so far. So I think that this is definitely a very solid album track.
Yeah. I will go a notch higher and give it a 4. I've had a little, obviously we've had more time with these tracks. I don't know. Like, I was tempted to almost give it a 3.5 as well, because I feel like I like the other 2 singles better than this one, but it's still really good. I love the melody, and I love the and they have that like kind of like little swell in. It sounds so cool. I think it's a great song. My only real criticism of the song, and it's minor, it's just a pet peeve of me, I don't like the term, what are you smoking? What are you smoking, man? It's like, so I feel like it makes Gillan sound like an old man. And he is an old man, so that's fine. But like, it's just like, what are you smoking, man? Like, are you crazy? Are you smoking crack? It's just like one of those like really old fashioned things. Like, I think it just kind of takes me out of the song a little bit when he says that. It's my version of the busy as a bee line that Rich hates.
Yeah.
I just feel, I don't know. What are you smoking? I'm just like, I like the lyrics beyond that. That line just kind of takes me out of it a little bit.
Yeah.
What are you smoking, man? All right. Next track up, a nice little classic Gillan-esque play on words, Old Fangled Thing. Listen to that energy right off the bat.
Yeah, this is really good stuff.
It was a hot, steamy night. I was drinking on my own. Just me and my guitar. The bar was empty.
And I was just talking about how I haven't really been noticing Paice in here, and now I'm like noticing his his drums.
And I like you, and he like kind of matches it.
Yeah. Yeah, very cool.
Well, that sounds familiar. It's early days, unfinished tune. You know how it is, going nowhere up till now. I was dicking around, trying something new.
I was dicking around. I like, it's kind of like it's a song about writing a song, very meta.
I like how Glover's got a really groovy bass
Nice
line
little
going.
walking bass line here, yeah.
I like Gillan's vocals too. He's kind of like singing some of his vocals like he's done in the past.
Yep. He drops in the living wreck reference. It's such a good groove.
Like how they went off on this new rhythm here, and it's part of the solo, this new melody.
Yeah. It's kind of a classic thing for Purple to do. They usually change up the solo section. I love that. They probably went into this section when he was doing the vocals, so he just sang along to that thing, and they said just the first one, and we'll leave it in. It sounds kind of cool. It would be annoying if he did it the whole time. so
That
many
was great.
different parts of the song. A great solo section, but it's like the song's probably got like 5 or 6 different parts that are totally different.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Wow.
I love you can scream without really screaming, you know? It's like
Yeah.
it's like a growl scream. It's like it's awesome.
And that's really as close as he can get to classic Gillan. The way that he used to sing.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean,
That
for me,
song
that's yeah.
the song is so like I mean, how long is it? It's not that long.
No, but it's got
None
a
of the
lot
songs all the
lot of
songs on this are
different
pretty
parts.
short.
Mhm.
But yeah, wow. A lot to talk about there, but what do you give Old Fangled Thing?
I'll give it an old fangled 4.5.
All right.
That's yeah, another one of my favorites on the album. I think yeah, the riff is really great. I think the verse is great with Rogers really holding it down with that like you said, that walking bass line is really cool. Gillan's vocals again, like he's in the verse, he's kind of he's singing, he's doing like that storytelling, the talk singing kind of thing. We talked about how Pace kind of does a little bump bump, which
Yeah.
it's not difficult, but it's a little, kind of a
Well,
little
it's got it's cool. It's a
tail
cool
that's
groove to just come out of it and
that's kind of
match where
cool.
you need to, you know.
Yeah, but I mean, I think the production of the song too, it's like I heard everything. I heard everybody.
Yeah.
And everything that was going on. And I love how the 2 solo sections went off from the main riff and they had their own grooves to them. They separated them. Those are 2 distinct, like, other parts of the song. So now we have what, like 4 or 5 different parts to the song.
Yeah.
And it's just it's a really growling, heavy kind of riff in the really classic rock sense. Um, and yeah, I mean, Gillan doing that
Mhm.
kind of growl scream is really, at this point, is just really impressive because it doesn't. I've heard vocalists that are still, even on albums, like I use Paul Stanley as an example, who are kind of losing their voice or
Mhm.
losing certain things that they could do with their voice, kind of sounding like, okay, that was a little rough, or you could tell that was kind of tweaked. And who knows if it was or it wasn't, but I mean, he didn't overextend himself, in my opinion. He kind of did this thing where you're like, wow, that's so awesome that Gillan just kind of gave us like kind of a scream in
Yeah.
2024. And it's another thing that, going back to the first couple of songs, it doesn't sound like he's just going through the motions and reading off the lyric sheet and being like, I gotta release another album so he can make some money so I can pay
Like
for
like
my
a Bing
medicine.
Crosby album. All right, can I go to the golf course? All right, cut that part out.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. He's not just like, all right, I gotta pay for my Lipitor, so I guess I gotta do this new album.
My lips.
All right, whatever it is. It's like, but him and all these guys are just you can feel that they're really putting in the effort, and the songs and the performances are really good. I mean, you can't have any of this without great songs and great songwriting, first of all.
Yeah.
But the performances are just really blowing me away. So yeah, 4.5.
Well, I think he's done a masterful job of figuring out adapting his vocal limitations to suit the music and do what he can do. He's not trying to scream like he screamed in 1972. He's saying, okay, well, this is what my voice can do, and this is what I'm going to try to do around it. And that's great. There's no shame in that he's, lost parts of it, and that's completely normal, but he's not deluding himself into thinking he can still do what he did 50 years ago, but he's made it work so well for him.
I mean, even 20 years ago,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? It's just like, it's just great to hear all of these guys adapting and growing and changing, because you don't hear that a lot from legacy acts, really, for lack of a better word or term for this band. I mean, they've been around since God, how long already, and you're just like, okay, do they need to write new music? And even that, even so, when some bands are writing new music, you're just kind of like, all right. I mean, look at Motley Crue's new songs.
Nah,
Like,
I won't.
no,
I haven't anyway, I should say.
I mean, I've already heard them. I'm just kind of like, who cares?
Yeah.
Really?
Well, I mean, it would be so easy for Deep Purple to just be a legacy band. They could just go around playing their greatest hits, and they don't need
Sure.
new songs. It's just great that they're doing it and still releasing new material.
Exactly. And that's one of the things that keeps us engaged. So
one thing I'll say is I've seen some preliminary comments out there, people being like, the production on this album isn't very good. And I'm like, are you people okay? Like, do you need to talk? Like, if anybody needs to talk, just drop me an email, nate@deeppurplepodcast.com. We can talk. We can, if you need to get something off your chest. Cause I there's just so many people that I think that being negative about new stuff is just, it makes them seem like they're above it or they're better than ever. Oh yeah, that new, this production just isn't good. And it's like, I think you're just making yourself sad. Like, just get over it. Like, listen to this for what it is. Like, I don't know. To me, this sounds great. Like, I don't see.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you could probably nitpick all day. Well, the EQ on the snare could be a little bit, like, who gives a shit? Like, listen to the energy and the passion and everything that they're all bringing. Like, I mean, I get it with something like Born Again. Yeah, the album sounds like a disaster. Like, that was a huge cock up by all regards. But like, to be nitpicking the production, like, even when we were talking about stuff like Bananas and stuff, and I get it, like, an audiophile might not appreciate parts of it or whatever, but like, come on, man, listen to the music, listen to what's really going on. This sounds great.
Well, I mean, we're also coming from it from the point of view of not being audiophiles. I mean, I will admit that, like, first and foremost. I mean, you're probably more of one than I am, because some people will not have nearly as much. Some people have an iPhone to put out a podcast, and you have many more. You have a whole studio set up there, so you have like much more than an average person would. But I mean, I still don't think you're snobby about, or too nitpicky about, listening to things like that. Neither am I, and that's how I approach everything. Even when I bought my turntable and the speakers for, like, when I wanted to start playing vinyl again, I was just looking at, I mean, you could get anything from like cheap to like super expensive. And
you could pay $5,000 for a turntable.
Right, exactly. But I mean, it really depends on what your level of what you're looking for is. Like, in that case, like in most cases, I'm not an audiophile. I'm not somebody that's listening to every little thing. So I needed just a modest setup for my turntable. I don't buy certain things, like, I know that there's like a compression or a loss of whatever if you're listening to Spotify, as opposed to people that pull out their CDs, or like the 80,000 gram whatever of the album.
That'd be a very you need a real big turntable to
I don't know
calculate that weight.
But you know what I mean. It's just like, I think it just all depends on what you value, what the value is to you. And to me, it's just like being able to hear it and being able to just process it the way that I can. I mean, if somebody gave me like $100,000 sound system, I'd be like, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
And I'm sure it would be impressive. But I don't think that the general public needs that. I mean, even like, and I just, one last thing on it is like, I think that I know that Rich has mentioned this more than once, and I think it was most recently when he did the Beatles podcast, the Beatles episode with Scott, is that, and I think he was talking about that John Lennon would listen to the masters or some of the mixes or whatever, and like a beat up old radio, the same as
Yeah.
most cars at the time had, because that's how people would be listening to them.
Yeah.
And there is something to that. Is like most people aren't going to be listening to something like an audio file. So
And 99% of the people are going to be listening to it on their iPhone speaker or earbuds that cost $20, or,
Right.
in their
or
car.
a Bluetooth speaker, or
Yeah.
it's just like you're always going to lose like something. So I mean, it's like, but back to the original point, is just like whatever the production is on this album, to the average ears, I would say it sounds pretty great.
Yeah, I mean, I got into a lot of this music that we've talked about on the show, listened to it on a crappy $20 Walkman while I'm vacuuming a church. So I've got the sound of the vacuum in the background. They weren't noise canceling, those cheapo little foam headphones that don't even cover your ear. It's like, but to me, it's the portability of the music is more important than, you could sit down in a room designed sonically to present everything perfectly. I'm sure it's a great experience, but at the same time, like, well, I have a life to live. I got to do the dishes. I got to drive to work. I got to, take the dog for a walk. I can't bring that system around with me. So having it portable and being able to listen to the craftsmanship of the songs and everything is more important to me. Anyway, long aside, I give this one a 4.5 as well. Really love it. Think it's got a great energy to it. It's nothing really. I love the living wreck reference is kind of cool. There is a little thing from the interview that Arthur Smith sent, actually, from Classic Rock. Gillan says about this song, he says, for 2,000 years, people were wandering around scratching their heads as to why their erasers had such long handles, until they discovered the graphite inside it and civilization was born. So it's kind of an avant-garde way of saying it. But if you look at the lyrics, he does say, where does he say it? It's, why does your eraser have a handle so long? Which is kind of, an interesting, quirky Gillan way of looking at a pencil. It's for the lead inside my pencil, man. I got to keep it sharp. So talking about, you could interpret that a number of ways, but reading the lyrics of this song, and the title, Old Fangled Thing, it's like, it's all talking about writing music and putting music together in the studio. It's like, oh, I got this new part and I can throw it in. So it's an old fangled thing in that, we're writing a new song, but we're giving it a sound from older times, or, a sound that's consistent with it. And it might very well be a song about how do we have that classic Deep Purple sound, but yet have it be a new song.
Right.
Just kind of interesting. So very meta song about a song about writing a song. But, all right, here we go. We got 2 more tracks for today. The next one up is If I Were You. And you were talking about how great his tone was, and here it is on display.
Yeah, just a nice little melody going into sounds like the ballad.
You hit me.
Love that organ in the background.
Left me face down in the dirt. You hit me with a cheap shot. Took me down, never gave it a thought. I never saw it coming, especially from you. Right out of the blue. If I were you, if I were you, and now you wanna make up.
It's kind of cool. It goes from I didn't notice this, but it goes from like an organ backing it up to now it's like a synth.
Little shaker.
Oh yeah.
It sounds more like something you'd hear on Whitesnake 87 or something.
It all belongs to yesterday. Love and betrayal are not the best of friends. Giving back with you is the last thing on my mind. With
I love what Glover's doing there. That was awesome.
Yeah. Very good stuff.
Even more so than a ballad, it's almost like a blues soul kind of song.
Yeah, I think in the recent years when Deep Purple have had a song like this, I default to calling it a ballad, but it's not really like the ballad. It's the slow song, or it's the slower song. I don't know how to really categorize it. Just kind of the more emotional song.
I love this end part. It's another one where is that 3 gillans? It sounds like it's all gillan.
That one does, yeah.
I think the has got some other people in there. Sounds like I'm being a dog. Actually, Brian Regan has that bit about the dog barking. That's awesome. I wonder if that's like if that's real strings or if it's just like synth strings.
Sounded
it's hard
like
to tell because it's so kind of low in the mix. You just kind of hear the decay of them at the end, but probably done on a synth. But all right, John, if I were you, I would rank the song right now.
If you were me, would you rank it when I'm going to rank it?
I don't know until you rank it.
I'm ranking a 3 on this one. I don't know if I need to sit with it a little bit longer, but it didn't really I mean, there were good parts to it. It didn't as a whole didn't really do too much for me. I mean, it had a great kind of melody going into it. Roger's bass line, the outro. But I feel like it just kind of it felt like I think a little bit longer of a song than it was. You know what I mean? So
how long is this one?
I feel like it dragged a little bit.
Okay. I'm trying to look at this one. If I were you, how long is it? Oh, it's almost 5 minutes. 4:42.
All right. I mean, not terrible, but not best of the best. So far on this one.
All right. I'll give it a 3.5. I like it. Again, it's one of those things. Well, I've heard it a fair number of times at this point, but I wonder if with repeated listens it might go up a little bit more. But I mean, I like it. I feel like at the beginning of the song I'm like, but by the end of it I'm like really into it. I really like that outro. I like the down, like that part's pretty cool. Yeah, I think it's a good solid song. Anywho, do I have any notes on this one? I don't have notes on many of the songs. I don't have anything until the next half. So the last track we're going to cover today is called Pictures of You. And we have, this is again, another one of the singles that's been out for a bit. So here we go.
I'm picking up a new
I really like the groove of this chorus. And that little he does on the guitar. He's doing those little slides after the hitting those chords too.
Working at night, you're looking so fine in the cool amber light. You're running with a new mob, working the crowd. The final
Yeah, there's a lot going on in here.
Yeah, it's very intricate.
forgive me asking, I can't help saying, but what you got there, the price you're paying in the light of day. What do I see? For what it's worth, seems no better to me. These pictures of you are too.
I just can't. Like, these pictures of you are too good to be true. I just can't. It's like, is he just looking through some nudes? Like, it's all I can think of when I hear this for some reason.
Nudes.
That's like, this is too good to be true. That sounded like a Regis Philbin impression.
I can see your
Philbin, I
bits
can't
and
believe these
pieces.
pictures.
I can see your bits and pieces.
Flame is frozen, you watch the burning, you're made to measure. Look at you now, stand out in a crowd. The real you showing up on your face. Your hair is blowing all over the place.
I think that's I love when they introduce a guitar solo. I think laughing is a great way. That's great.
Another great melodic solo right there.
So I love this little outro here. It's very Pink Floyd too, especially the bass. Must be the Ezrin influence.
I don't know. I feel like the volume swells. They're very reminiscent of Ritchie, Steve Morse.
Now that's where it would go into Portable Door on the
Interesting.
on the release, but we've already done Portable Door, so it goes into another song. So it's interesting because I probably just used to listening to it on Spotify that way. So now to me it sounds weird that it goes to the other song, but
Yeah.
But there you have it. It's Pictures of You, John. What do you think?
I'll give a 3.5.
Okay.
I thought it was this is not this is probably not my favorite of the three songs that were released pre-released, but it's definitely like really strong. I really like just like a lot of the other songs on here, a lot is going on, a lot of layers going on in the songs, which I mean has got to be a Bob Ezrin influence, but I think that's really makes the song like interesting, makes them work. It's got a great melody line, and I do love the way that it ends because the song does end, I think in the style of what you would expect from Deep Purple, even like classic Deep Purple, because even if you say, oh, it makes me think of Pink Floyd, you're really kind of still hearkening back to those early days where they were still kind of a proggy, more of a proggy type band. But I mean, it's very like abbreviated here. But yeah, I like that they've made some kind of different choices.
Yeah, I give this one a 4. I really like it. I like all the different parts. I love the ending part because it's just unexpected. It comes out of nowhere. It's just, you don't think that this is going to have this weird transition, but you can tell from the first time you hear it, oh, that's going to transition to a different song. And then little do you know, it's the song that they'd already released. And then they put them together on the little single there, and you're like, oh, of course, that's what's going to be on the album, and it's not. Which we had the track listing for the album anyway, so you could look and see that wasn't how it was going to work out. But I really like this. I love the groove and everything that's going on in the verse part is so cool. We mentioned the hanging around a beehive, feeling the buzz, and I wondered if Rich was going to be angry. He doesn't like, Rich hates bees. Maybe he's allergic to bees. I don't know. But yeah, I didn't know if he was going to dislike. I don't think he disliked it as much as he disliked the busy as a beeline.
Yeah.
But yeah, I really like it. It's like a song. It seems like it's a little on the nose about a photographer and taking pictures, but also, getting a little deeper than that too. But I like the, so fine in that cool amber light, working at night, all that sort of stuff. It conjures up a lot of really cool images. Yeah. And that's Pictures of You, the last song we're going to get into this week. And before we wrap it up, we have to do something very important. And of course, if you've been listening to this show, you know that is to thank our foundation level patrons. So coming in at the £3.50 Deep Purple New York tier, we have Lord Longford. At the £3 Aromatic Feed tier, we have Simon Ford and Richard Brees. At the $3.33 Halfway to Evil tier, Stephen Sharp and Duncan Leask. At the $3 Nobody's Perfect tier, we have Peter Gardeau. Ian DeRosier. The Prague Frog himself. Mark Roback. Stuart McCord. Ivan Fjeldbu. Runar Simonsen. JJ Stenard, Ruinous Inadequacies, Corey Morissette, Ashley, Weston Supermare Pilgrim, Joe Dopefish Sigler. At the $1.71 I Want My Own tier, we have
Rich Yangui Shaylor.
At the 10 kroner tier, we have Karsten Lau.
Cold, hard Danish kroner.
And at the $1 made-up name tier, we have A Leak on the Side, Leaky Mausoleum. We have Stephen Somerville, the Concerto 1999 fanatic, Hank the Tank, Private Eyes, Ashen Lionel,
Blackmore Tights,
Steve Down to Earth Kohler, Zwapper the Electric Alchemist, Anders Engstrom, ICDC, Durple Purple, Purple Swede,
Swede.
and David Haddam. Thank you so much to all of you for your generous support of the Deep Purple podcast. Whew. All right, John. One half of the album out of the way.
Part 2 coming at you later.
Next week.
Next time.
For us, after lunch.
Pretty much.
All right, John. Well, we'll end that one, this one pretty quick because we don't have really anything more to discuss other than getting into the rest of the songs. So,
yes.
All right. Well, exciting to be here on release day, going through this. Hopefully you've all come out off of a long weekend of listening to this one, and we can echo some of your sentiments. Maybe we'll piss you off with some of our sentiments. Who knows?
Ooh.
It's anybody's guess. All right. Well, John, these pictures of you are too good to be true, and I'll see you next week.
Well, what pictures you looking at?
Hey, what pictures you got? It's like that scene in the movie where they have the pictures and they're like, I could throw these in the fire and we could forget about this. Like they don't have the negatives, you know? All right. All right, cool.
What a horrible way to end this episode. All right.
Yeah,
See you later, everybody.
All right, bye.
Thank you for listening to the Deep Purple Podcast. If you like what you hear and would like more episodes in the future, please donate on Patreon to support the show. You can also leave us a review in Apple Podcasts to help new people discover the show. You can follow us on YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook for show updates. See deeppurplepodcast.com for more details. Thank you for listening.